Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into the human mind and explore two really powerful, and I mean fundamentally different approaches to psychology. We're looking at two toolkits, and each one is designed to help us change, but in ways that honestly couldn't be more different.
You know, it's a question we all ask ourselves at some point, right? Whether you're trying to kick a bad habit, finally conquer a fear, or you're just searching for a deeper sense of purpose in your life. How do we actually make lasting change happen?
Well, psychology basically offers two totally different answers. The first one, it's like a mechanics toolkit. It's practical, it's direct, and it's all about fixing our behaviors, the stuff you can actually see. The second one is more like an architect's drafting table. It's philosophical, it's reflective, and it's all about helping us find meaning and design a life that has real purpose.
Okay, so let's start with that first toolkit, behaviorism. This is a school of thought that believes, pretty simply, that what we do is what matters most. It's all about observable actions and, more importantly, how we learn them.
So the whole foundation of behaviorism is this idea of reinforcement. And at the most basic level, we've got what are called primary reinforcers. These are the things we are biologically hardwired to want, like food, water, or safety. Nobody has to teach you that you want these things, you just do.
Okay, but what about other things? How did they become so powerful? Well, that's where secondary reinforcers come in. They get all their power by being linked to those primary ones. And the biggest, most popular secondary reinforcer on the planet? Yep, it's money.
Of course not, right? A $5 bill on its own is just a piece of paper. It has zero value. But its power comes from what it can get you. The food, the shelter, all those experiences. This is the absolute core idea behind what's called a token economy, which is a system where tokens, like money, can be swapped for real rewards. You see it everywhere, from classrooms to therapy.
So how does a practical toolkit like this help with something as big and scary as a phobia? Well, one of the most famous and incredibly effective tools is called systematic desensitization. It's basically a step-by-step method for taking a fear apart, piece by piece.
This was developed by a guy named Joseph Wolpe, and it's a very careful four-step process. First up, you learn deep relaxation techniques. Second, you work with a therapist to build an anxiety hierarchy, basically a list from least scary to most scary. Then, you start confronting those fears just in your imagination, all while staying relaxed. And finally, only when you're ready, you face them in real life.
Now, the key to building that list is something called the SUDS scale. It stands for subjective units of disturbance. You just rate your anxiety from 0, meaning you're totally calm, to 100, which is the worst panic you can possibly imagine. This lets you and your therapist create a really precise, gradual plan of attack.
So, let's say you have a fear of flying. Your hierarchy might start with something really small, like just imagining calling the airline to book a ticket. Maybe that's a 10 on the SUDS scale. But experiencing turbulence, that could be a 95 or even 100. The idea is you conquer each step before you even think about moving to the next one.
But, not all behavioral tools are that slow and steady. There's another approach called flooding, and it's pretty much the exact opposite. Instead of a gradual climb, flooding basically throws you right into the deep end. You get exposed to your biggest fear all at once until that anxiety just burns itself out, because the terrible thing you were afraid of never actually happens.
And this brings up a really important distinction with one more technique, implosive therapy. It's just like flooding, but it all happens inside your mind. The key difference is real life versus imagination. The easiest way to remember this is just, implosive therapy happens in the imagination. Simple as that.
All right, let's totally switch gears now and look at our second toolkit. This is a complete 180 from the first one. We're shifting from the what of our actions to the why of our existence. Welcome to the world of existentialism.
This idea, it's really the heart and soul of existential philosophy, and it was powerfully articulated by the psychiatrist Viktor Frankl. He was a prisoner in Nazi concentration camps, and he realized that even though he couldn't control his horrific circumstances, he could always control his response to them. And that is where he found his freedom.
And it was from that unimaginable experience that Frankl created logotherapy, which literally translates to healing through meaning. It's a direct challenge to behaviorism. It says our main motivation isn't seeking pleasure or avoiding pain, it's the search for purpose in our lives.
So this toolkit isn't about giving you a specific technique to stop, biting your nails. Instead, it's all about empowering you to see that you have the freedom to choose, the will to create your own life, and the ability to find meaning, even in suffering. It's really about becoming the author of your own story.
Okay, so What does this actually look like in a therapy session? Well, existentialism offers these really powerful frameworks for understanding our reality and our relationships, and they go way beyond just simple stimulus and response.
A really central idea here is the I-thou relationship from the philosopher Martin Buber. Think of it this way. It's not a top-down relationship where some expert counselor fixes a patient. It's a horizontal one. It's two human beings on a journey together, side by side, exploring the client's world with empathy and a sense of equality. Existentialists also had this really cool way of seeing us, as living in three different worlds all at the same time. The Umwelt is the physical world around us. The Mitwelt is the world of our relationships, and the easy way to remember that one is Might-Welt for my relationships. Pretty handy, right? And the Eigenwelt is our private internal world, our own identity. A truly fulfilling life means finding a balance across all three. Now, look, neither of these toolkits is perfect, and both have their critics. Behaviorism often gets called simplistic, accused of treating humans like programmable machines and never really dealing with the root cause of the problem. Existentialism, on the other hand, gets criticized for being way too abstract and vague, that it's more of a philosophy than a concrete plan for therapy.
So here we are with two totally different paths to change. One gives you these practical, powerful tools to fix specific broken behaviors. The other helps you step back and draw a completely new blueprint for a meaningful life. So the final question isn't just about whether you need a new blueprint or better tools. It's about knowing what you're trying to build. Are you trying to fix the engine, or are you trying to choose a whole new destination?